Well, just under 6 hours before Minister of Finance Enoch Godongwana will present the 2024 budget speech at the Cape Town City Hall at 2 p.m. this afternoon. So for more on this, let's cross to SABC News Economics editor Tshepo Mongoai. Tshepo, interesting listening to some of the discussions already this morning. But of course, just a few minutes before you go into lockdown. So just in terms of what is being said, what are you hearing as you put your ear to the ground, as many of those who are in, I would suppose, very specific stakeholder positions would say you are with Cosatu. So what are they saying?
Well, the main issue is the debt situation that has been raised, among, of course, a plethora of other concerns that are also being raised. Of course, we know that in the medium-term budget policy statement, the projection were around 77.7% in terms of debt to GDP. That could escalate, according to others, to 80%. And we know for many years going back, there was constant message that we need to contain our debt levels. We need to continue to reduce it. But what has been happening, however, is that with an increase in expenditure, we've seen that government has actually been increasing debt. What's even more concerning is that government is borrowing in order to service some of its debt. We have some of the debt instruments, bonds, government bonds that are due for maturity. And what we are seeing is that government is prolonging the repayment of those debts. Some of them are in foreign currency, but of course, most of our debt are rand-denominated. So we're now joined by Cosatu. He's the Cosatu representative here in Parliament's Matthew Parks. Thank you very much, Matthew, for joining us. As the Labour Federation, as workers, what do you think is your role? What is it that you can do to assist in this particular situation where we have this mismatch between revenue and tax?
Yeah. Look, we've got to do the fundamental crisis facing the economy, facing the country. Debt isn't the crisis. Debt is a symptom of a crisis. It's a symptom of a stagnant economy, a high unemployment rate. Debt is growing because the revenue is shrinking. So for us, what we have to do is to grow the economy. And the critical things the budget can do is to give more support to Eskom, because if Eskom can provide reliable and affordable electricity, all companies can be productive, they can sell their goods, and thus generate the tax revenue the state needs. If we can fix Transnet in the mining, the manufacturing, the agricultural sectors, which are the backbone of the economy, are huge contributors of company tax, huge source of jobs, can be productive, then the economy can grow. If we can look at how do we rebuild dysfunctional municipalities, because that has a huge impact upon the economies in rural towns. We see many companies closing rural towns, retrenching workers, so we've got to fix local government. We bleed a lot of money in the state because of corruption and wasteful expenditure. So we have to give more support to the law enforcement institutions like the police, the NPA, the SIU, the Hawks, the courts to tackle that cancer of corruption. So you've got to do all those bleedings, you've got to grow the economy. And of course, once you grow the economy, once you do the blockages to unlocking growth, we have to give support to the poor, to the unemployed. So key to that is the presidential employment program. It's quite affordable, it's a huge impact, but we need to increase it to absorb at least 1 million young people, just to help them to enter the labour market, get the skills, the experience to find long-term employment, because we can't sustain a society where 6 out of 10 young people can't find work. The SAD grant has been a huge poverty alleviation tool. Again, it's affordable. It's about 34 billion rand out of 2 trillion rand budget. Has a huge impact. We need to extend it to address the lost value to inflation. But again, that money is not lost, because that money is spent in the local economy, helps to stimulate it, and also money is recovered through taxes. So I think for us it's about, let's fix the economy, let's fix the state. That's how you're going to show the state has the revenue it needs to manage the issues of debt. But you can't afford to abandon 40% of society to unemployment. We've got to grow the economy.
I think it's a give and take, and I'm sure this will also apply to the workers. What is it that the workers can do to make the work of the finance minister or government at large much easier? What is it that they will put on the table? What is it that they would be willing to forfeit as their contribution?
Well, workers do it every day. They've done long before a minister comes and makes a budget speech. It's workers who run our hospitals, who are police officers who die on average one every week. It's mine workers who are, every week we lose another mine worker. So workers are doing what they need to do. Workers' pension funds are invested throughout the economy in all listed companies and so forth. What we need is for government to give them the tools to do their jobs efficiently. So we can't blame Home Affairs workers for having long queues when there's huge vacancies, when the IT system is mismanaged. So give workers the tools they need to be productive, the economy can be unlocked. Mine workers, workers at transit, workers on the farms want to work, but they need the state and they also need the private sector to give them the tools so that the economy can be unlocked.
Thank you very much. That's Matthew Parks. He represents Cosatu here in Parliament. We'll continue with coverage of the 2024 budget. And of course, the minister, as Sakina pointed out, will deliver his speech around about 2 o'clock, where he will set out some of the key priorities, spending areas, cuts, reprioritization, what is going to be the focus for government, who's losing what are you likely to pay more in terms of taxes, if any, announced. So look out for that one. Nompumbela Suzu will be joining me a little bit later, continuing with this coverage here in Cape Town at the City Hall. Back to you, Sakina.
Thanks so much, Tshepo. And as Tshepo said, SABC News will keep you covered.